Is Amazon Vine still worth it in 2026? If you're selling on Amazon in 2026, whether it's in the UK, the EU, or the US, there's one question every brand with a new product launch is asking right now. Is Amazon Vine still worth it? Not hypothetically, not in theory, but in actual seller ROI terms, after fees, after costs, after the painful reality of Amazon's review ecosystem. Today, we're going to break down what Amazon Vine really is in 2026, how it's changed, the data sellers are talking about in forums, who it actually helps. I'm Chris Turton, and I help 6 to 8 figure Amazon brands grow with my team at E-commerce Intelligence. Just look at some of our most recent results here. Let's get straight into it. First, the basics. Amazon Vine is a review generation program where Amazon sends your product to pre-selected trusted reviewers, which they call Vine voices, and they give honest, unbiased reviews. There are some important points sellers need to understand. Vine reviewers are not paid. They get the product free, but must provide honest feedback. Reviews are labelled as Vine voices, so shoppers see them as trusted, early social proof. The program is not about guaranteeing positive reviews. It's about getting real reviews early. If your product is a turkey, Vine voices are going to just say that. And here's something absolutely critical in 2026. You don't just get reviews later on. With the updated Vine process, you can generate reviews before or exactly when your listing launches, which gets rid of the traditional cold start problem many sellers have faced for many, many years. Let's get practical. It's how the system usually works. To use Vine, your product must be brand registered and enrolled into Fulfillment by Amazon, FBA. It must have fewer than 30 reviews. It must be in new condition. You provide inventory units for reviewers. You pay an enrollment fee depending on units you offer. The common fee structure for most sellers is between 1 to 2 units is free, 3 to 10 units is about $75, 11 to 30 units is about $200 or about £140. And crucially, there's no fee if no reviews are generated in 90 days. You only billed after the first review shows up. So from a risk perspective, you only pay for outcomes, not just participation. Now, is it cheap? No. 30 units plus shipping, plus FBA costs, plus gone, dead inventory. The impact isn't nothing, but that's the modern economics of Vine in 2026. It's structured to give you clarity on cost. Here is where it gets real. Vine is everywhere in seller discussions, from Reddit, Amazon forums, Telegram, Slack groups, you name it. And that's because it intersects with 3 core Amazon realities: cold start, dead weight. Lost sellers obsess over the cold start, paying huge ad dollars to get your first few sales, to get a couple of reviews, and spend a lot on advertising. With Vine, you can launch with reviews already on the listing, which dramatically improves the early onset conversion. Number 2, social proof still matters in 2026, probably now more than ever. Reviews are still the biggest factor driving conversion, even more than ranking in many categories. Products with a handful of trusted reviews convert upwards of 200 to 300 times better according to Amazon's own sources. Vine gives you that trusted badge immediately, and that's why sellers keep talking about it. The community sentiment across these forums is quite mixed. So in forums, you'll see 2 distinct views. There's a few people that are very pro-Vine, you can't launch without it, outweighs the cost, but there's a lot of skeptics too. You're handling units to reviewers who might sort of nitpick your product, and then they have to live with that review forever. They might not understand the product if your product's quite niche or specific to a specific audience. We'll unpack a little bit more about the position of Vine viewers shortly. Let's break down where Vine actually delivers value based on sort of current seller experiences and experiences we've had as an agency. As a pre-launch, social proof sellers report that having reviews on launch day removes the worst phase of that launch, that invisible period, that dead weight time when you launch and all you can do is grow with ad sales. That literally turns sort of the day 1 0 sales into day 1 10 to 15 sales, which will help dramatically reduce your pay-per-click side, improve conversion. Reviews from Vine Voices tend to be more detailed and thorough than standard customer reviews, which helps with that conversion and organic factor because a lot of the organic data for your listing is also generated from customer reviews. That's one reason why some sellers say that their Vine has really boosted discoverability. It's not just the count of the reviews, it's the quality of the review count. There's an expectation alignment. If multiple Vine reviewers point out the same issue, sellers get early feedback on the product or listing problems before broad exposure, something that prevents costly mistakes. That kind of insight has real operational value. Now, the uncomfortable truth that sellers rarely admit up front, there's no guarantee of positive reviews. Vine voices are the most honest way of getting reviews. And if there's a real issue with your product or your listing, they will call it out. And unlike incentivized reviews from years past, which are still highly not allowed on Amazon and can get your product and your brand removed and your account suspended, the Vine voices reviews stay very visible on the page long term. Bad early reviews, though, can affect conversion, PPC performance, and the organic ranking. And unlike unwanted buy reviews, you can't remove Vine reviews just because you don't like them. You typically can't remove other reviews as well, but Vine voices reviews are going to be much more dependent on your listing pages. The cost versus the value is dependent on your product selling price. If your product is low margin or high cost, the cost of the units plus FBA plus shipping and the fee can really eat into the upside. A £10 product with 30 units in Vine could cost your brand £300 without enough sales lift to justify that value in those margins. Sellers often discuss this exact scenario when we've gone through seller forums or Reddit threads, wondering if Vine for low value items makes sense at all. So is it worth it? Here's the practical, brutal answer. Yes, if you're launching a new product and you lack those existing reviews and you can absorb those 30 units and the cost comfortably, your product quality is good and your listings are already optimized. Maybe not if you have a product with thin margins, you already have a solid organic review momentum, or maybe you expect some negative early feedback due to a poor listing, a product mismatch, or if your product is very niche to one audience. In 2026, Vine still works, but it's not a magic bullet. It's a strategic tool, one you should use when you know your product quality is strong. You've optimized your listing first and you treat it like an investment in conversion, not a cheap shortcut. If you're considering Vine for launch in the next quarter, leave a comment, let me know your category, your selling price, and whether you think Vine fits your launch strategy. I'll respond with some guidance and some comments based on real community insights and what we've found as a brand. If this breakdown's helped, please like and subscribe, and I will speak to you in the next one.